Modinomics set to take India into big league. Did India break into the top league as the world's fifth largest economy, taking over the UK? It did, but didn't. According to the IMF, in 2019, India became the world's fifth largest economy with a nominal GDP of $2.94 trillion, taking over France with 2.71 and the UK with $2.83 trillion. But the trouble with GDP numbers is that they undergo a series of revisions, and the final data comes only with a lag of 2 to 3 years. In other words, first estimates of national output are ballpark figures and are subjected to revisions, both upwards and downwards. So India's 2.94 trillion for 2019 was revised down to $2.83 trillion, while France's and the UK's were revised upward to $2.73 and $2.88 trillion respectively. The joy was short-lived, and what seemed like cracking into the top 5, overtaking a colonial masters Britain, didn't materialize even now, with India settling at the 6th spot since. The good news is Asia's third largest economy is likely to not only break into the top 5 this fiscal, but also move one spot ahead to take over Germany in the next 5 years as per the latest IMF projections. The forecasts are somewhat believable this time around, given the gap between projected output between India and the UK for this year, and between India and Germany for 2027 are a good $20 billion plus, which means despite factoring a downward revision in both the first and second estimates, chances are that India's spot in the top 5 appears confirmed. In 2021, India's GDP stood at $3.18 trillion, just a notch below the UK's at $3.19 trillion. Of course, these numbers are subject to revision, but the fact remains that the Indian economy is closing the gap faster. The pace of output growth is slowing down in the UK thanks to Brexit uncertainty, COVID-related disruptions, and the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war, which is also adding to India's ascent. In 2022, the IMF projects India's $3.53 trillion economy to overtake Britain's $3.38. By 2027, the UK's economy will be at a $4.55 trillion, while India's would have surpassed it with a neat $1 trillion margin, settling at $5.53 trillion. And if the forecasts are anything to go by, India is all set to even dethrone Germany, whose nominal GDP is estimated at $5.36 trillion by 2027, to emerge as the world's fourth largest economy. At the third spot is Japan, whose economy is likely to grow from $4.91 in 2022 to $6.26 trillion. That's less than a $1 trillion gap with that of India's of $5.53 trillion, and provided there are no major setbacks, and if the 7 to 8% real GDP growth rate continues, the target to compete with Japan's third spot is doable and not really over-ambitious either. But breaking into the next phase from there on would be both challenging and interesting. By 2027, China's economy at an estimated $29.13 trillion would be at a kissing distance to take over the US's $30.97 trillion as the world's largest economy. From the 9th spot in 2010, with trailing countries like Brazil and Italy, India's rise has been dramatic in the past 2 decades and will be keenly watched by many. The IMF, which predicted in April this year that India cannot become a $5 trillion economy until the years 2028 to 2029, has reworked its forecast early this month. As per the revision, India will be a $5 trillion economy by 2026-2027, 2 years earlier than they initially predicted, and a $5.5 trillion economy in FY28 or calendar year 2027. The change in forecast was due to the assumption that the rupee will depreciate to 84 against the dollar and not 94 as per the IMF. This is MS Pursi for Orange News 9 TV.